Lourdes Spurlock said something in this conversation that really stuck with me. She compared getting into the energy industry right now to buying Bitcoin early or joining Amazon before it went big. Not hype, just timing. Most veterans don't realize how much opportunity is here in this industry. And the ones who get in now are going to be way ahead when the rest of the world catches up. Welcome to Project Vanguard, where veterans and mission-driven leaders share what it takes to build America's energy future. I'm your host, Kevin Doffing. Lourdes is a veteran who found her way into the energy space and wants other veterans to join her now and to stop sitting on the sidelines. We talk about what energy security actually looks like when you go past the bumper sticker, why veterans showing up and being visible matters more than most people think, and why this industry right now is one of the best places for a veteran to start building their career. We'll also be talking about how Lourdes became Mrs. Virginia International. People like Lourdes, these servant leaders, are holding the door open. The question is whether you want to walk through it or not. Let's get into it. Lourdes, thanks for making the time today. This is great. It's been, a week and a half since I last saw you?
Yes. Great visit.
Let's just start with where we saw each other. You want to tell everybody what that was?
Yeah, absolutely. I last saw you on Legislative Day over at the Oklahoma State Capitol building. Really great day. I had a lot of fun. I live in Virginia, so the last place I had gone was the Legislative Day at the Virginia State Capitol. I love the vibes in Oklahoma. There's no traffic. Parking was very simple. I didn't have to go far. I didn't have to Uber. Loved it.
So that Virginia one was the first time you'd ever done something like that. And I really appreciate you doing that on short notice. What was that like when, hey, Lourdes, what are you doing next Tuesday? You mean in 2 business days?
Yeah, you really got me last minute on that. Yeah, I loved it. So I'm with Apex Clean Energy, for those who aren't aware. And our government affairs team, they work with American Clean Power, and they helped organize Legislative Day at the Virginia State Capitol, which they're very thorough. They're very organized. I went in there. I felt well prepared. There was about a 4 or 5 page packet just going over the clean energy bills that we wanted to advocate for and show our support on. There was an itinerary, so I went in knowing the schedule. I knew the plan, what we wanted to do, what teams we were going to break out in, what legislators we were going to meet with. So for my first visit to the state capitol in Virginia, I felt like I'd been there before. ACP did a great job preparing us. Project Vanguard did a great job preparing me, even though I was notified last minute. Thanks, Kevin.
You're welcome. It was a challenge and you rose to the moment.
Oh, yeah. I just love it. I love those challenges.
Well, we're a small but scrappy team of 2. So you got to roll with us as we're trying to figure out how do we and when do we and where are we turning out people to, just talk about their military experience and their industry career. And you did a great job. And I know that you didn't like doing the selfie afterwards talking about it, but nobody does. I know I don't like doing that, but it helps.
Absolutely. It's definitely a time where your social media presence, it matters. I think years ago, social media wasn't a tool that people even thought of to accelerate their business, but it's a necessity now. You don't have to be great at social media, but if you have a message and you want that to go out, you need to have social media presence.
Yeah, I remember 20 years ago when I was leaving the military, I built a website for my business. And I was beating out bigger industrial players that didn't have a shopping cart. We were doing oil field supply, selling PPE, but we were beating out Granger on some fronts. That didn't last for long. But then the social stuff 10 years ago was just completely different. And now if you're not doing it, you're just not going to be able to play.
One of the things that I tell a lot of military veterans, it's fine if you don't want to be on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or Threads, whatever's out there. But if you're trying to get out of the military, you have to have a LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You just have to. Because now, I work with HR. I have a lot of friends who are recruiters, and you have to pass through AI. They're going to search through the keywords in your resume, And if you don't have that, you're not going to make it even to the HR manager. But having a LinkedIn social media presence, recruiters, that's what they're looking for now. They're looking for your headshot. Are you able to present yourself and, go through those quick high level summaries of what you did in the military? It all counts.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's your online resume, your online presence. But I think also, we talk a lot about Project Vanguard. We're not in the business of getting you a job. We're in the business of trying to get you a screening call, right? So meeting and cutting through that AI filter by meeting other vets that work at the company, that if you can be a decent human being, they will tap HR on the shoulder and be like, you should give this person a second look. Or maybe the first look if your resume is just buried in abyss of a inbox that they can't check everything or the AI misses some things. But knowing a person that can talk you through like, oh, we already have an internal hire for that, or candidate. But what you should be looking at is this role. And let me walk you through what that role would be like. Oh, and it is good. I mean, there's just a lot of value. I get a lot of people who don't think that, well, I want to talk to another veteran, but shouldn't I only be talking to the HR manager? What's it like when you get those veterans that talk to you about joining Apex or just getting in the industry? What are those conversations like?
I let them know right away. I personally cannot get you the job, but I can give you the tools and the advice and the invitation to the network to get you to the right people.
Mm-hmm.
I can help you out with your resume and help translate that into civilian terms. So when I connect with them, I just let them know, tell me what you did. Give me a 30-second spiel of why I should hire you. And lock that in, because that's what you need to tell everyone else.
Yeah, what's your story?
Yeah, they're not going to listen to 10 minutes. You have 30 seconds to 5 minutes max to really impress someone who has no idea who you are, who doesn't know what you did in the military. So you really have to lock down your 30-second presentation of who you are and why you should be hired.
Yeah, I call it your happy hour pitch. If somebody meets you at a happy hour, you've got a minimal amount of time to talk to them about it.
I do.
So how are people usually finding you? Has Project Vanguard been able to help you with the Slack, or just you being more visible now as a community leader? Like, what's kind of driven, a lot of these people reaching out to you to learn more about the industry or how to get in? Or is it HR at Apex just flipping you vets that are applying? Like, how's that worked for you?
People find me on social media. I'm very active on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram. I've also been really active in my community, just with community service. I've been involved with helping networks. I've talked at maybe over 20 different schools, universities, colleges, middle schools, elementary schools. I've been heavily involved in my community for over 10 years in the state of Virginia. So I feel like people knowing you, that spreads the word quickly. So a lot of times it's, hey, I know a girl, I know a veteran, and she has a great personality and she's social and she's really personable and she's super smart. Just those connections have really helped me in my career. So a lot of people think it doesn't matter about your personality, but it does, because people won't remember everything about you, but they'll remember how you made them feel. And even in my time in the service, I did a good job at being personable with everyone that I worked with, and I constantly get recommended to do more events.
I like how you just snuck a Maya Angelou quote in there. Well done. So speaking of being active in your community, you have a little bit of news. What's going on there? You seem to have a new persona you're putting out there.
Yeah, I am Mrs. Virginia International 2026. You're going to love this. My platform is pretty much just promoting renewable energy, STEM, and supporting our veterans. It's a platform that I've been doing for the past almost 20 years of my career. So it's so easy to talk about. It's what I love to do. So it's not something I have to second guess. Ask me anything.
So when you came to me and I had to sell you on being in the Project Vanguard community leader program, you were like, this guy doesn't even know. Which, by the way, this didn't even come up when we first met, and we're talking about community engagement and building the veteran workforce and all this community building we're doing. At no point Did you mention, oh, by the way, that's my platform for my...
Oh, yeah. Like, here's my just things I do for fun.
I know. It's like 2 calls later, you're like, you mentioned like, oh, I was like, you should share this on social media. You're like, which channel? You're like, no. I mean, like my Miss Virginia stuff or my stuff. I'm like, hold on.
Oh, yeah.
What? Way to bury the lead.
I have separate accounts. I have my Pageant Instagram page, and then I have my personal page.
Say more. What made you decide to do this?
So I did 6 years in the military. I was a Navy nuclear veteran, EM, it matters, and I was a 2-planter. There's going to be people who know this, but 2-planters are way cooler than the 1-planters. And it was all guys. So, I couldn't get my nails done. I didn't wear makeup. I had to wear a bun. I was pretty much one of the guys. So by the time I got out, I had no idea how to assimilate back into being a civilian. So I would try to have conversations with women. And, I was still talking and joking like a sailor. And I realized, like, wow, nobody wants to be my friend. Like, I'm coming off abrasive or too direct or sarcastic.
You're over there cussing and spitting, and they're like, I'm sorry, what's happening?
Or like, not even cursing, but like my sense of humor was just that dark military sense of humor that a civilian would like, oh, wow, who is she? Like, let's not invite her out again. So Pageants, it was almost like going through etiquette training, like what to wear for a job interview, how to speak if you get invited as a public speaker at a college, what to put on a resume, how to interview. Pageants kind of taught me etiquette training. And then it allowed me to meet more women who are very strong-minded and inspirational and doing amazing things in different industries that I'm not a part of. I can't tell you anything about healthcare or anything that's not engineering. I can't tell you.
Same. Yeah, I don't know any. I'm an energy nerd, but I know nothing else.
Yeah, it was great exposure. Pageants helped me meet other industries. So that also helped get the message out about who I am. And everyone there who is not a veteran think I'm awesome. And they're just like, I got a girl. You want to meet Lourdes? She was in the Navy. Like, she operated nuclear reactors. She's building wind turbine projects. You want to meet her?
I love that. Yeah, no, I've told my daughters, when I was in the infantry, I was like, I don't know. This does not seem like a good place for women to join. And then after I got out and worked in veteran services and met a bunch of kick-ass female vets, I'm like, oh, yeah, no, my daughter should definitely be like these women. These are really great professionals that I would love my kids to like meet and be modeled after.
I was literally like everyone's kid sister in the military. There weren't many of us. If there were 100 guys, maybe there were about 5 to 10 girls. But they really took me under their wing. They were just as hard on me as they were anybody else. Like, I didn't get special treatment for being a girl. If the guys were up at 3 a.m. doing maintenance training on a main engine, like, guess what? I was there too. But that credibility and that work ethic, they respect that. And so I had a lot of great male mentors that looked out for me, and that made me a stronger leader when I got out.
Nice. So how have you gone about finding mentors? I mean, that's one of the things that we've tried to do with Project Vanguard is like making these folks available. Like I'll always respond to a vet that reaches out on LinkedIn. Like, I don't know when I'll be able to talk with them, but at some point I will. But it's a really inefficient system, and having this community is a lot better. But how have you gone about finding mentors up to this point in your career?
I think for me, I always ask why. Why do you want me to do this? Why are we doing this right now versus tomorrow or the next week? Why is this the next mission? Can you explain this? And so I ended up getting mentors because it was like, who wants to answer this girl's questions? Like, she never stops asking questions. And so the more I learned, the better leader I became. And then it would, they would say, well, just let Spurlock train everyone else. She already knows all the questions they're asking. She has the patience, she has the compassion, and she's not as like abrasive as we are. So I got mentored because I was annoying. And then I ended up being a great mentor for my junior sailors. I'd be like, I already know what you're going to ask. I'm going to tell you why we're doing maintenance at 1 a.m, and I'm going to tell you why we're going to do it, and it's going to be great. You're going to love it, and then we're going to get time off.
Is that kind of carried over into your professional career post-military of just asking questions?
Absolutely. Being a nuke, that's what we called Navy nuclear guys, there was a whole qualification that you had to do to be senior in rate. So it was a 2-year qualification. It's about 10 pages long of things that you have to accomplish. And you get like a C daddy or a C mom. And so they take you under.
Wait, go back. A sea daddy?
Yeah, that sounds weird. In the Navy, if you're in the nuke world, everyone gets a sea daddy, a sea mommy, a sea parent. And that person teaches you how to do your job. They're going to give you tough love. They're going to tell you that you're not good at your job and you need to do better. You need to study harder. You need to work harder. And you take it. You don't talk back to your parent. You don't talk back to your sea daddy. So that mentorship, I took that with me when I got out. So if there's a new hire, it doesn't matter if HR gave them an orientation. They're going to get an orientation from me, and I'm going to say, who are you? What do you bring to the table? And what is your job here? And how do you think you're going to get the job done? So, yeah, it's a little strong when people first meet me, but they know if they train with me, they're going to know how to do the job.
Got it.
So that's my form of mentorship.
The things I've learned about the Navy, like every ship's a little bit different, and y'all just have so many little things in a military structure that's always full of little things. Y'all seem to always take the cake. That's hilarious. Well, so how did you go back? What made you originally get into the military?
Yeah, so I grew up in New Jersey and I didn't have the money for college. I also didn't know really how to apply for college. I didn't know how to get financial aid. So I ended up just going to the recruiter's office one day after school, my senior year, and I tried to sign up for the military and they turned me around and said, "You're 17." I skipped a grade. So yeah, I was 17 in high school trying to sign up for the military and they said, "You need your parents." And I said, "Okay, cool." I didn't think this through. I went home, told my parents I wanted to join, and they said no. And then I had to convince them that this is a great idea. So yeah, I joined the military because I didn't have the money for college.
And you skipped a grade?
Yeah, I skipped kindergarten. Not a big deal.
Oh, okay. You placed out of colors really fast. I got it. Okay, got it. So what was it like when you got out? How long did it take you to find this career that you're currently in?
So, with the Navy, at least for the nuclear world, you either get stationed overseas or you get stationed at one of the bases in America. So, I was stationed at Norfolk and I had been at the Newport News Shipyard for a good portion. So, there in itself, there's already contractors. So, I got signed on with a contractor at Newport News Shipyard. And so I didn't really have to do a crazy transition. I was literally still around military friends when I got out. So I spent 9 years at the shipyard building nuclear aircraft carriers and submarines for the Navy.
Oh, wow.
But I didn't have to deploy. I didn't have to wear a uniform. So to me, it was kind of good transition.
No, that's great. What was kind of your biggest lesson from that experience? What do you try to impart to those that are transitioning now?
I guess figure out your comfort zone. There's always like, do you want to stay in a small circle or do you want to go into a big circle? And I think when people get out, they take on more than they can handle. They hate the military so much and they jump into this like large pond. You know, it's like going from a small town to a large city and not everyone transitions well. So for me, I went from the military to a small pond. I mean, not small. There's 30,000 employees at the Newport News Shipyard. But it was a pond that I felt comfortable growing in and transitioning to civilian life. And that way I could continue to build my confidence. I could continue to build my skills. So I did that for 9 years before I moved into renewable energy, which is a whole different pond. But because of programs like Project Vanguard, I feel like this will allow military veterans to find that small pond where they can still grow their confidence before they're ready to take on more. So I love what we do in Project Vanguard because it's giving veterans a home after they leave the service, because it's very scary getting out and learning that people don't like your jokes and they don't like how you speak. And, when you were in the Army and you have like a division, after work, the division's together, like, hey, where do you want to go eat? And that's not the civilian world. People check out of work. They're not asking you what you're doing. They're not calling you to make sure you got home okay. They're not checking on you on the weekends like, hey, you want me to come out and help you work on your lawn? That's not happening. So
no one's making sure you have a plan for your 3-day weekend.
right. They're not saying like, hey, did you make sure you updated your vehicle registration so your car doesn't get towed or you don't get a ticket? That they're not asking those personal life questions. They're only asking you about your job.
Yeah. Yeah. No. There's a very firm line between your personal and your professional.
Yeah, and they keep it separate. They keep their work life separate from friendship. And in the military, that camaraderie is so priceless. You're working with people, but you're getting to know them as friends, and then they become family.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's almost weird if somebody does bring too much of their personal life into the workplace. I struggle with that because I ran a family-owned business with my dad after the military, and it was like, probably a little bit easier because my dad had just taken care of everybody. We had people that had worked for us over a decade, but like one guy, loved him, but he used to manage me when I was 14. And here I am at 27, and now I'm like the new owner of the company. And it's still somebody that like knew me when I was 14 and an absolute idiot. Not that I stopped being one, but even more of an idiot than I am today and back then. So it was just like, that was a little bit easier because it blended a lot of like, we just brought our lives with us for the most part, but not what I've seen in corporate America where you don't talk about what happens at home and you definitely don't ask people that you're not super tight with.
No. And it's actually why people love me at work. I bring that camaraderie and I'm sharing my military characteristics with the people I work with, and it's new.
Mm-hmm.
They're not used to this person at work who's just like, hey, I heard it's your kid's birthday. Like, do you want to do something? I hear so-and-so has a baby on the way. Like, let's throw a baby shower for them. And they love it. So at first, like, they didn't know what to do with a personality like me, but now they're kind of, wow, are all veterans like this? How can we hire more?
Depends. So what do you want to get out of we've got this fellowship program. We've got a small number of women that are in there, you, Marcy, Ginger. We just added Michelle. God, if I'm forgetting someone, they're going to murder me.
Gabby. I mean, we've got Gabby.
We've got Gabby. Oh, Gabby keeps all the trains on time.
She counts. Don't forget her.
That's right. I mean, so what do you want to get out of this? Do you want to see more women coming in like we were talking about earlier? Do you want something else? Like, what do you want to see happen over the next year with the fellowship?
With the fellowship, yeah, I absolutely do want to see more females joining. It does get lonely in the military when you don't have other females in your corner, and then getting out of that as a woman, trying to mesh with other women that don't understand anything you did. It's very lonely. And unless you're resilient like me and have super thick skin and just you don't let that bother you, it's hard. So I think us growing and making a space for those female veterans, I'd love to see that happen over the next few years.
Megan. How am I forgetting Megan? We were just with her in Oklahoma.
Yes.
Oh my God. And Shemay and Brittany. But I mean, I think that's one of the big things with this. Even when we were in West Texas and they're like, hey, you should come talk to the Chamber of Commerce. I'm like, no, Brad lives here. Brad should be the pillar of the community that is like the military person. Brittany should be doing that in Fort Worth and Dallas, and Marcy's doing that in North Carolina, and you're doing it in Virginia. And like, that's more of what we want is like this really broad community of just different voices, different faces, different work backgrounds, different military branches. I think it just makes it a lot more accessible for veterans to just see themselves and find their way into this industry that way. Not really a question.
I love that. That's a good word. Accessible. Yes. I think Project Vanguard is an avenue to make it accessible, not just to network, but for veterans to find a home after service.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. I mean, I know I struggled to get in. And building Project Vanguard's been a little bit of like, I wish that I had this. I ended up running the first Veterans Happy Hour for ACP when they were still called AWEA, just because I wanted to get a job in the industry. And I was like, hey, do y'all have like a vet thing I could go to? I mean, like, I'm happy to go to whatever. And they're like, no, but we should. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And they're like, would you like to run that? I'm like, I know nobody. I literally know no one in this industry. And one of the board members, old Mike Skelly, I got skellied and suddenly I'm running the Veteran Happy Hour. So, I mean, like, I wish that Project Vanguard had existed, 7 or 8 years ago when I was looking at this industry.
And I think one of the great things is that, you're leading Project Vanguard and you have that personality where you're someone that people feel is accessible and they can approach you and speak to you. But a lot of veterans, they don't have a personality like yours. They don't have a personality like mine. And, people aren't just like jumping to go say hi to them. So I think you leading Project Vanguard is a great benefit for those coming out of the service, because if they can't find you somehow, Kevin, I feel like you're going to find them.
I do a lot of prospecting. I'm always looking for the vets in the communities. I mean, that's, I was pestering Ken like, hey, so who are we going to get from Apex? I got Barrett. Who else are we going to get?
Oh, yeah. Oh, Ken found me on a Thursday meeting. So Thursdays at Apex, we all get together and, they give us an update on what's happening at Apex. And Ken was like, hey, Lourdes, you have a minute? And I go, oh boy, am I in trouble? He was like, so there's this program called Project Vanguard, and he was like, I think you are the person they're looking for because I know you like to do a lot of community service and you're really active. Would you like to do Project Vanguard? And I was like, sure.
When I got you on the phone, I thought you were going to say no because you're like, what is this? What do you expect? I was like, man, this is going to be a tough sell. I better like buckle up, get my big boy sales boots on and like really start selling her. And by the end of the call, I'm like, oh, that was a test.
Well, at first I was like, I'm not a salesperson. If you want someone to be a salesperson, like that's not me. But I think with Project Vanguard, or even like me being Mrs. Virginia, my whole platform is I'm just sharing my life experiences. I'm trying to inspire other people.
That's selling.
It's not like I'm selling a product. I'm selling my story.
You're the product. Your message is the product. This is the thing, like your storytelling.
That made it better to digest. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can do that. I can tell stories.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's the thing I always try to impress upon people to transition is like, you got to know your story. Because if you can't buy into what you're selling, which is you, nobody else is going to.
Absolutely.
Whether you think you can do something or not, you're right. If you don't think I can do this without a PMP certification, you're right. If you think I've got this, I've done these 3 things in the military, I don't need these letters and a course behind my name. I know how to execute and do it. Unless it's like a box to be checked for a government contractor role, no, you don't, because you can convince yourself and other people.
Absolutely. So one of the reasons I do love working in this industry, when you work for a government contractor, you are locked in to have certifications. You are locked in. You have to have a college degree. You have to have a master's. You have to have a PMP to even be considered for a leadership role.
Right.
But in the wind and the renewable energy industry, like they just want someone who's a strong leader. They want someone who's smart. They want someone who can take a crazy puzzle and, figure out how to solve it. And veterans can do that. And that's what I really love about it. I have a place to shine in renewables because I love challenges. I love problems. I just know how to handle things under pressure.
Yeah. No, I love that. Well, so as we're kind of coming up to the close here, what is your advice for veterans that are looking at this industry? How do you think they should approach it, or what should they be considering, or they might be surprised about the industry?
Google is your friend. Look online and just type in jobs in renewable energy. And then just look at the different topics and say, like, I think I could be good at this. I'm a construction project manager. And then it'll tell you exactly what a project manager does. And then think about what you can bring to the table. Like, oh, I can do that. I can do that. I can also do that. I may have never worked in wind before, but I have the leadership capabilities to learn how to do it. And I think that's the first step. Are you able to join a new company and learn? You may not be the leader right away, but if you can learn quickly, it won't take you long to move up. So just use Google, see what jobs are out there, and check your qualifications. If you think you qualify and you think you can do the job, then you're going to get it. But if you don't think you qualify, if you don't even know what you're good at, then you probably don't have your 30-second interview presentation locked down to even talk to a recruiter.
Yeah, and we've got a thing on our Networking 101 YouTube series where it talks about your personal story. But I would also say, like, go to the podcast like this, just listen to different roles and responsibilities and see which ones sound tailored for you or exciting or kind of click. And then when you join, you get invited to our Slack community. Now you've got 500, 600 veterans in industry that you can just sit there and peer network with and be like, hey, I see that you're a project manager on the pre-construction side. I now know what that is because of Lourdes' podcast. Can we grab a virtual coffee and just start networking that way?
Absolutely.
Well, so would your advice be any different for female veterans looking at the industry?
Yes. Well, not even advice. I will say there are more women in renewable energy than there were at my previous role with the government shipyard. And I think that's comforting, but don't be scared to go up to another woman to be their friend. I think I was really nervous. I'm more nervous around women than I am around men because I didn't know if they'd like me, but don't be scared to meet other women and be their friend. And I think with Project Vanguard, if you need a friend, I'm obviously available.
I love that. That's the whole point of having this access and being able to see the types of people that we want to have in our lives and in our profession. I know we were talking about it earlier. One of my companies, we really wanted to expand the executive team. So we were trying to find a female industry professional with solar asset management experience. And so I was like, let's just look. I made that an ask for a couple of months during our recruiting phase. And what was interesting was I would talk to a couple of women that had utility background, and they were the ones explaining to me because utilities don't turn over a lot of their leadership. It's a very conservative, bureaucratic, like it's a great place for veterans to get in. And that's really where the renewables industry had birthed out of, was a utility model. They're just a lot of more senior guys. And so these women would tell me that they were oftentimes the only woman in a meeting, and what that was like and how much camaraderie they found with the other women that were already in the industry. So it's interesting how it can evolve. And Mrs. Virginia here is making a change.
And don't be scared being the only woman in the room. I never even think about myself being a woman when I enter the room. I kind of walk in and I just go like, I know my shit. Like, I should be here. I never think to myself, oh, I don't belong here. Like, no, I have proof and evidence that I can get the job done and I should absolutely be here. If anything, they should be more worried about being in the room with me because I'm going to ask the icebreaker, like, tell me your biggest fear, like, what did you eat for breakfast this morning? If anything, they should be scared that I'm in the meeting.
I like how those are the two things people should be afraid of: your fears and your first meal of the day choice.
Yeah, like, oh, I wasn't ready to answer this at 9 in the morning.
Lourdes, why should veterans join the energy industry?
Veterans should join the energy industry because there's open opportunities. There's other industries where you're kind of locked in. You need certifications, you need a degree, you kind of need to know someone to get in because it's so heavily saturated. But the energy industry, I feel like it's smaller and there's an even smaller veterans community. So if you get in now, it's almost like getting into Bitcoin while it's early. It's like joining Google and Amazon before it went big. And I think the energy industry is that. In 10 to 20 years, it's going to be huge. So getting in now while we're small and you have a place like Project Vanguard to make you learn the ropes, I think it's the best place for you to start off your career.
Lourdes, thanks for making the time today. This has been really good. We're going to see more of you at more of these energy days, more of our community engagement, our thought leadership. I appreciate what you're doing to make yourself available to set an example for other veterans coming into the industry and already here. Just keep up the fire.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for tuning into the Project Vanguard podcast. If this episode sparked something for you, share it with someone who's ready to think differently, whether it's about an all-the-above energy approach, how energy security is national security, or the veteran workforce in our industry. If you believe what we're building, a quick review goes a long way. You can do that wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, keep up the fire.